Home unless you need food, medicine, or medical care. If you need to go out, stay at least 6 feet away. Avoid people who are sick and make a plan. Identify and talk with someone who can help care for you if you get sick. Have supplies like medicine and groceries on hand, or find ways to have them brought to you. And remember, wear a cloth face covering when around others. For more information, call Seattle King County Public Health at 206 477 3977. That's 206 477 3977.
You're listening to RainierAvenueRadio.world.
Lave las manos y desinfecta las cosas a su alrededor. O coronavirus es real. Sea inteligente cuando se trate de lavar las manos. Es increíble saber que ese virus puede vivir en superficies por hasta 9 días. Y por eso que es muy importante desinfectar las cosas que una persona infectada puede tocar, como o seu celular, por ejemplo. Mesmo que você lave as mãos com frequência, mas use o celular, os germes retornam às suas mãos imediatamente. Quando foi a última vez que você limpou seu celular? Quando o vírus é transmitido pela tosse ou espirro, pequenas gotículas viajam pelo ar e pousam em superfícies que você pode tocar com as mãos. No geral, tocamos nossos rostos 16 vezes a cada hora, e é por isso que é muito importante lavar as mãos e limpar as superfícies que costumamos usar, incluindo o celular. Esta mensagem é um serviço público da Rainier Avenue Radio.world e Somali Youth and Family Club.
Here with the Rainier Avenue Radio traffic update. You can listen to us in your car 24/7 anytime by downloading the free TuneIn app. Once you do, search Rainier Avenue Radio, and remember, do not curse out your fellow drivers. This has been your Rainier Avenue Radio traffic update.
Welcome to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. It's me, your host, Tony B. Again, this is our Friday impacts of the coronavirus on South Seattle and surrounding communities. We've been doing this again since March 13th was when we first started doing it every Friday since. And yeah, looks like we're going to be here for a while doing this. And joining us a little later in the program will be a few folks from the Department of Early Learning and Education in Seattle. We're talking about preschool and the impact that COVID has had and will have on the upcoming school year. For those who are our earliest learners at 3 to 5, we'll give you more information about where you can go, how you can get free tuition, get all those questions answered. We'll also be joined by the Seattle Public Schools Superintendent, Denise Juneau, and we're going to try and give you everything that you need to know so that your student scholar can be prepared from grades 1 through 12. You can give us a call too. And joining us on the program, we've been getting fairly consistent updates and keeping our communities informed about the city of Bremerton, and likewise having the city of Bremerton be able to tune into us and find out information. From the very beginning, Mayor Greg Wheeler has come on and been straight up about what's been taking place and how things are going, and I welcome him to the program once again, the Honorable Mayor of Bremerton, Mr. Greg Wheeler. How are you, sir?
Doing well, Tony. Thanks again.
Well, good to have you back. Again, we can talk about all things going on, COVID in Bremerton, and but you know what? I'm going to start, Mayor Wheeler. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I got to tell you, a lot of times I don't know what day it is until because they just keep running. They're all running together, and every day's has some COVID in it. Yeah. And every day has some new awareness for social justice issues, new knowledge gain, new new things to consider. And now after a while, that's a 24-hour day, 7-day a week package there.
Yeah.
And so
Well, Mayor Wheeler. I think people are just going to have to. I call it COVID life. That's that's just what it is. It impacts and affects everything that happens. Then you add on to that, we're in the middle of a coronavirus pandemic.
yes, yes.
So I do want to ask you about a bunch of things. I think the reason why I contacted you was the outbreak at St. Michael's that we heard about recently.
Yeah.
And so I'll start with there. Can you give us information that we may not have, or that you may have? We do know that I think it was 45 folks tested positive, 30 were employees of the hospital, and 15 were patients. And so that obviously, raises a big red flag for you, I'm sure.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about St. Michael's? What's happened since then? And then again, how does that impact? And we'll talk about some of the specifics. What's going on right now in Bremerton?
Yeah. Well, so there's, the public health district has sent a letter to St. Michael's and very specific criteria for them to get a control of this virus, this situation right now. And it's calling for increased testing, faster turnaround for tests, more transparency as far as folks' numbers, and it's basically just in faster communication with folks in the hospital when there's been new positive tests. And CHI has responded favorably, and that those are things that's their goal also, is to go ahead and meet these standards. And we obviously there's some other issues going on. I'm not sure yet. I don't want to get into too far into different investigations going on. I think that's going to sort itself out as the facts are discovered on how did CHI get there in the first place. And my goal as mayor is to let's get back on the same page. None of us can do this alone. In fact, we're totally dependent on each element of this system, all the way from me, first responders, police and fire, the hospital system, taking care of their people and their patients, and of course our public health district. And so I will take CHI at their word that they're going to fulfill every one of these requirements. And obviously the proof it's going to play out through actions. And we all know good intentions start with saying what you're going to do and being thoughtful, and then the follow through. That's what we'll be looking for. And I have no reason to believe they won't follow through. This is a serious issue, Tony. So that if you have any other questions about that or specifics, we're up to 49 cases now. We do expect more. We've been trending okay in the county. We're kind of holding steady as far as new positive test cases coming in, or tests coming in positive.
Well,
but
Mayor Wheeler, you know how we get down here. We have open, honest, frank conversation.
You bet.
And when something like that happens, as we all know, I'm just going to say it goes without being said, but I'm going to say it anyways. That is a place where people need to feel safe.
Absolutely.
When they go, and especially if you've been told to quarantine at home and you've done all the things at that point, that's not the place. I mean, if there's anywhere where you're going to find compromised immune systems, that's where it's going to be. And so just, the community, where the citizenry, what's going on with this? And then the other thing about it is the number of employees And again, I don't expect you to have all the answers, but that's not the place where you want people who are taking care of other folks to feel like they can't be trusted, you know.
Yeah.
And then the other part about this that we know about the coronavirus is that once you find out what the numbers are, it's usually a little late to have taken care of what the impacts that you don't know
Absolutely.
have taken place, and the math tells us that that's how it worked. The coronavirus isn't playing politics; it's a numbers game. It's trying to transmit itself to as many people as possible.
Right.
With that thought in mind, talking to your community, speaking to your community now, and speaking to others, because again, one thing that we've also found out is when something happens one place, it generally happens in another community.
Yeah.
What would you say to your community and other communities are listening about what's going to how can folks feel safe if they need to
Yeah.
how can they ultimately rely on the place that they need to go to feel safe to be a place that can be safe?
Yeah. Well, the first one is the ones that we have control over, that I have control over, are at this point accountability. So at first, it starts with looking at inwards at ourselves. It starts with me as a public Kitsap Public Health Board member. Are we doing the right things as an agency? And then ultimately, I will be part of the team that makes sure that Harrison and CHI are fulfilling their commitments that they have agreed to. They've agreed to a very aggressive, damage control strategy to get this under control, and then to adopt it as a new standard of practice. My job is to ensure that happens. There's no I'll walk away and you said it, we won't watch. You can bet, Tony, we will be watching. And there'll be no silence. This will be a very public watch. It'll be reported back to the community as it should be. And there should be nothing going on that's not transparent. And so we're going to, and so at least the citizens will be armed with facts. And, from there, I don't know, obviously CHI has to comply. They have to get their standards up to the level that they've agreed to and that we have outlined for them. We can't do it without a healthcare system.
Yeah.
I mean, and so what the next step is, there are other steps. Let's maybe hopefully we won't have to talk about them in a month or two if this doesn't improve. This needs to be corrected. The one thing that I would encourage folks to do is if folks have been thinking that this virus isn't serious, or they've been slack on their PPE, wearing their masks, everybody needs to tighten it up, because what ends up happening is you're going into the hospital. If you've been slack, you're infecting the first responders who are delivering you, and you're infecting your workers, your healthcare people who are trying to help you. You're infecting other people in the hospital who may be more compromised than you as an individual who went to the hospital. You gotta do these. You gotta take this serious. You gotta wear those masks. You gotta keep that social distancing going. Keep the hand washing strong. Get testing. Stay home when you're sick. Those kind of things help all of us. It not that it's going to make my job any easier. I just want us to all take care of our community. Take care of your neighbors.
In the event that again, there may be things that have already taken place. I know there are mobile units that are available. I think one of them may have been in the Kitsap area for a while. I'm not sure if I remember that correctly. But have you had conversations about that? If that was necessary, the ability to bring in one of these mobile units, is that something that's been discussed or talked about at all?
Oh yeah. We're making this a priority. We believe testing should be available, not per a doctor's recommendation. I believe this, and I believe this as a Kitsap board. I believe it should be available if you want it. If for some reason you got yourself into a situation where you feel like you got around too many people, who knows what it was? Maybe it was something all of a sudden a group got together all at once and you weren't masked up. well, you should be able to go get a test. You shouldn't wait till you're sick or have to go see a doctor to say, hey, can you, we should have it available. Mobile testing, yes. We have test locations in the county. And what needs to happen is we need to actually change that narrative into tests should be available if you want.
My guest again is Mayor Greg Wheeler, mayor of Bremerton. And, we've been talking about the outbreak there recently at St. Michael's. Mayor Wheeler, prior to that, how had things been going? I know that you signed an emergency order permitting outdoor restaurant seating
Yes, sir.
on private property. So to get to that point, you must have been feeling good. How does that working out? Is that something that has worked out for the businesses? Have people started taking advantage of it? Have things been safe? Is it returning some sort of normalcy on all levels? How's that working out?
I've seen some good positive results. We talk about walking a tightrope sometimes. This thing is razor thin. When you're trying to help a small business remain solvent and have employees keep jobs and provide some sense of normalcy, at the same time you create something that might promote someone to leave their house when they might otherwise would have made that choice. All of this is outdoor dining is one of the safest things you can do in a restaurant, and some of the other things because it's controlled. You can control the amount of people coming in. You can control how far apart people sit. And businesses can control their cleanliness, how they conduct their cleanliness protocols. So it's worked well. It's going to be, I see it, hanging around afterwards. I did accomplish signed off 2 emergency orders, 1 into the streets. So we've got businesses out in the streets now. And in fact, we've been kind of frequenting them off and on. I'm test driving our work and doing something I don't do very often, which is leave my house with my wife. And we're just we're checking them out. They seem to be working great. And there's other ones in the parking lots. So sometimes we've got some businesses who are in mall plazas, and so we've created an ordinance. Hey, if your landlord agrees, well, let's get you outside, do some outdoor dining. And I just opened up Quincy Square also for our local farmers market. So again, all of a sudden we have an opportunity for folks to leave their home, which might sound counterintuitive to social distancing, but if done safely, we can still kind of move forward as a community while at the same time still managing the virus. And it takes a lot of personal responsibility. But yeah, Tony, those are all things I've done about 3 weekends in a row. Myself and staff worked all through the weekend to get every one of these things up and running. And the folks are using it right now. So
Hasn't been that long yet, but have you been hearing back from the businesses? Is it helping? Are some folks getting back to work again? I know it's only been a couple of weeks, but have you heard about the impact it's had? And I know people have probably been chomping at the bit to get out of the house.
Yes. Yeah, it's I've heard people are back to work, they're staffing back up. It's I've seen it around downtown. It's awesome, really. I'm gonna take my son out. My son's just got into town. He's been through his quarantine, he's been tested, and so now he's in my bubble. So he's back in town for a little bit. We're gonna go out to restaurant. I'll just promote him, Hound and Bottle over in Manette, Lower Manette. They're outdoor seating now. I helped them set it up with this ordinance, and our staff working around the clock to implement this, and so we're going to test that tonight.
All right, let's make it some shameless promotion. Go ahead and give them a shout out again. Where is that at that you're going?
That's the Hound and Bottle. That is on 11th Street. Small business, love them, community minded, but yeah. So they're it's just over on lower East 11th Street in Manette.
And
calm down, Tony. I mean, I'm not really in your bubble or anything, but we could get tables about 6 feet apart. And we could still chat. And,
And what are that brings into what are the what's the ferry situation in Bremerton like right now? Is that I guess it'd be easy for me to check, but is everything running on schedule and on both
Yeah,
ends, or has that changed up a little bit? I mean, we know that could potentially lead to some social distancing issues, and so how's
yeah,
that working out?
it's working well. In fact, my wife and my son just took his car back to the airport. They're going to take the light rail back here in the ferry. Just heard it's running less frequently than a summer run might, but there's less people actually going out and about.
Mhm.
We know the reasons why, but yeah, it's doable, and there's plenty of room to distance yourself.
Mhm.
Again, though, it's just this the best remedy is just staying home,
Mhm.
and we know it's not always doable. So it's that fine line. Everybody's got to make those choices on their own.
Now, another thing regarding business, and we had talked about this a while ago as well. Federal money that might be coming through
Yeah,
the CARES Act, and that has happened. And there is
yeah,
now, to my understanding, you pledged $250,000
yeah.
to support this program called Bremerton Cares Small Business Rental Relief Grants. How is that going? How are businesses responding to it? And I got to ask you this, especially during this time, generally when people need the money, are they able to get the money pretty quickly, or are you finding that people are having a hard time filling these forms out and getting the money? And how's that, is it turning around?
Yeah. No, it's going well. We had 38 applicants, all qualified, and that was as a Wednesday. They have till Sunday or Monday to get their applications in. If we get 50, that's what we anticipated 50 applicants
Mm-hmm.
that would qualify. They're all small businesses, $5,000 each.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not seeing in our community, Tony. They'd call me if something was, and I did get some calls
Mm-hmm.
and looking for guidance, and some of it I was able to help them correct their situation. Yeah, they're going to get their money. We're going to cut the checks right away. We want to make sure we get the whole 2 weeks in,
Mm-hmm.
because everybody's got a different communication network that they belong to. Nobody gets right now. Nobody's going to be get priority over another person. And if you just meet the basic standard criteria, you're in. And yeah, it's working well.
Well, let's talk about that. To my knowledge, you must have 15 or fewer full-time employees, have a current Bremerton business license, and of course have experienced COVID-19 impacts while operating a business in the city limits. And this is also inclusive of nonprofits and
Yes.
cooperatives. Did I get everything there, or anything else you want to share about folks who may be thinking, "Am I eligible? Can this be my business?"
Well, that's yeah. If you're in the city of Bremerton, the city limits, and you're licensed to in the business city, yeah, you're eligible. I mean, prove 15 or less, and you have to prove you've had an impact, and that's going to be through a financial statement.
Mm-hmm.
Probably last year, what did you generate versus this year? And that's so get those numbers, and then just and don't opt out. Don't make a self-determination. Put it in there. If you think something's a little different, like you did something last year that created a bigger revenue or a less revenue stream than normal for some reason, and this year something's working out where you make a little. Just put it in. Put a note in there. Why? I can use it to learn, because we're going to keep going. This isn't going to be the last time we help businesses. And I just want everybody to feel like they've got a shot. And our criteria is pretty strict now, and it's actually working. And there's other things that might set a small business up for failure that might not actually show up on a simple spreadsheet like we're asking for. But I want to hear the stories. Everybody should try to apply. I can't think of anybody who hasn't been impacted by COVID.
Yeah, yeah. And let's see here. Again, so phase one, August 18th, phase two, August 25th. What does that mean? Because you said something about there's still time to apply, right?
Yes. Yeah. You got to get in here. So looking at my calendar right now, and yeah, we got till about next Tuesday, which I think is September 1st. So probably, let's just say August 31st, midnight, probably going to be your last day.
Okay.
Don't wait to the last minute, folks. Just get it in here. We'll figure out a way to get you some funding.
Is for folks who may have businesses out there and may have language barriers, for folks who may need some assistance or have questions, is there help available? Is there a helpline? Is there a way that they can, in these next couple of days, if folks are just hearing about it, get some questions answered that they may have?
You know, we communicate through our various networks, and I've established a pretty extensive list to make sure we're getting all communities that might not be in normal communication channels, including where English isn't the first language. You know, Kitsap Immigration Assistance Center, Mesa Redonda. I've been in front of those folks at some of our the nightly meetings I attend. NAACP local chapter, Tracy Flood, has put together a very diverse community of leaders of all types of groups that are underrepresented. I share information with them. The network, you know, Tony, how it is. What you do here, this is what matters. It's network, and so we'll work with folks. And we've established ourselves as a welcoming city. So we're just going to continue to exude that kind, welcoming atmosphere here. Folks should be comfortable coming to us.
You are listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. My guest, again, the Honorable Mayor of the City of Bremerton, Mr. Greg Wheeler. We talked a little bit about the outbreak that just recently happened. We've talked about business. And Mayor Wheeler, first of all, again, I want to thank you for coming on the air. And you always do. And again, you know, if there's ever anything you want to share, we're here for you and answering the questions. I want to give you an opportunity here. We've got about a minute left for final words, if there's anything that you want to share.
Yeah, I'll just say that we also have a rental assistance program. And folks wonder, what are we going to do about daycare? Well, we're working together right now as a community to try to come up with options. The rental assistance, both rental assistance programs for businesses and your personal residents, those are vital because that allows somebody the flexibility to work with their employer to reduce their hours, or potentially even one of you to opt out of a job to stay home with your child, your student learner, to help out in their environment, their learning environment. And so these things give flexibility. Employers are going to have to get used to this. I mean, if you want, employees are your most important asset. And for the most part, employees have children who are going to now be learning at home. And so we're going to have to work through this, but the rental assistance, both of them help with flexibility because we can help with making up the rent difference or the rental gaps if an income goes away. One last thing, Tony, you asked a little bit about working with schools, and I've been in close contact with the school district. Probably the next time I'll be able to report back that we've created a partnership where we're going to help them with hotspots in our city. Our kids, and we got a lot of lower income families, they need access, they need good, strong virtual access to the new learning world they're going to be in. Hotspot purchase around the city is what I'm going to be working on. I've been working with our school district. We'll work with our IT staff, and it's something that the CARES funding can be used for. And so it's just something that I haven't heard of any other jurisdictions doing it. I'd love to have somebody contact me if they have, because we need a model, because we're pretty certain it's allowed use. Mm-hmm. And I'd rather not be a trailblazer on it, although we'll do it if we have to. But yeah, I think it's just kind of something I see us helping out on here in the city of Bremerton.
Well,
that's it.
Mayor Wheeler, again, appreciate you, man, and we may have to jump on there again. Obviously, education is something very important. As I mentioned, we've got Seattle Public Schools Superintendent coming on to talk about, K through 12, and then after that, we'll be talking to the Department of Early Learning, and yes, that issue of childcare and preschool. And you add on to that, we also know some things now about our youngest, and that is that they can get this virus, that they can spread this virus, and the fact that they were somehow. I mean, we know some different things now that are pretty important about our future, our youngest population here. So maybe we'll come back and we'll have a bigger conversation about that.
Yeah, I'd love to. You bet, Tony. You know I'm here, and then of course I know I consider you a resource to get out information, just like you've offered, and so thank you for that also.
Thank you, Mayor Wheeler. You're listening to RainierAvenueRadio.world. Coming up, my guest will be Seattle Public School Superintendent Denise Juneau. We'll be back right after this.
This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not translating the lyrics of Boogie Oogie Oogie for bored Europeans, I'm listening to RainierAvenueRadio.world.
Women are not an homogenous group.
We face discrimination differently depending on factors such as ethnicity, age, socioeconomic status, and more.
Rainier Avenue Radio is proud to amplify women's voices.
They are the experts of their own lives, initiating conversations within their community about challenges they face, the solutions they're working on, and the opportunities they see.
Please join us this Sunday from 2 to 5 for Women's Voices on Air. We know our challenges. We are the experts of our lives.
We are master multitaskers, prioritizing our family, friends, and our faith above our own needs.
Our needs and voices are too often overlooked.
Please join us this Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. for Women's Voices on Air.
We tell our stories in our own way.
Stay up to date on the coronavirus. Visit kingcounty.gov/COVID for information, guidance, and resources to help keep our communities safe and healthy. That's kingcounty.gov/COVID. This message is a public service of RainierAvenueRadio.world.
This is the news on Rainier Avenue Radio.
Turmoil at the U.S. Postal Service is causing some politicians and local election officials to rethink their vote-by-mail strategies for November's presidential election, shifting emphasis to drop boxes and early voting that bypass the post office. On Tuesday, Postmaster General Louis DeJoy announced that he was suspending cost-cutting measures he had put in place in recent weeks that led to widespread service disruptions, Reuters reports. However, news came in Tuesday night that the re-election campaign of U.S. President Donald Trump had sued New Jersey following the decision by its Democratic governor to mail a ballot to every voter in the state for November's elections, as well as hold in-person paper ballot voting amid the coronavirus pandemic.
And that's your news on Rainier Avenue Radio.
Ballpoint pen in a spare 10 minutes. We'll get the message sent that you hear. Keep listening. Some roads get fixed. Less needs go unmentioned. And privacy's a must. Not a word gets mentioned. Just keep in mind the youth as the time goes by. Let's clean up the streets, hold down the block. See, we beat the key that opens the lock.
Yeah. This time, we all gon' be counted.
Demand to be counted. Complete the census by phone or online. This message is brought to you by the Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle.